Hey there, welcome to Resipod. It's like your favorite coffee shop chat, but for diving deep into what makes the industry tick. All brought to you by the team at Resil Chemicals. We're talking the secret sauce behind every industry breakthrough, the twists and turns of chemical sector strategies, and those whisper insights you won't get anywhere else. So whether you're wearing a lab coat, crunching numbers, or just insanely curious about how things work in the chemical sector, you're in the right spot. Let's kick things off with our debut episode, Silicon versus Silicone. And believe me, these terms are worlds apart in ways you wouldn't even imagine. Let's jump in and explore the differences with our team. You can also catch us at resil.com and resilsilicones.com for more information on what we do.
I'm Siddharth. I've got Dr. Manju and Vijay here from our R&D and application teams. Manju, Vijay, if you could just tell us a little bit of your story, how you came to be at Resil, why Resil, and that would be an interesting place to start.
Hello, hi everyone. So this is Vijay here. So I'm currently leading the application research and customer innovation team over here. To talk about my history and then how I joined here. So I did my master's in nanoscience and technology. Post that, I came to Resil as a...
So how did you go from nanoscience to silicones?
Yeah. So there's a long journey as I can explain that. So when I joined Resil, I came here for a nano project over here. So when I joined here, as my first project was to work on the nano zinc oxide for the textile to protect it from the sunlight. So sun protections for the textiles. So post that, I started doing many materials, for example, silver-based nanomaterials, where a lot of work has happened. From that, I moved into the personal care because from the benefit of nano silver, we started working on the sanitizers, purely water-based sanitizers. So from sanitizer, I moved to hand wash. From hand wash, I moved to many hand hygiene products. So that's when I become part of the personal care. So under personal care, when I started working on hair care, then silicones became an integral part of the hair care. So that's how nano to silicones. That's how the journey of the silicone.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks for that, Vijay. Manju, what about you?
Yeah, good morning. So myself Manju. So I am a PhD graduate in chemical engineering, focusing on heterogeneous catalysis for green chemistry. So development of new...
So you were basically a catalyst expert?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
And a polymer together.
Okay, so polymer plus catalyst.
Yes.
Okay, I think, and how did from there to silicone?
Oh, yes, that's still really so interesting, yeah. So all my PhD work are based on utilization of carbon dioxide for making commodity chemical like polycarbonate or cyclic carbonates.
Right.
And then from there I joined GE, SAPIC.
This is the old GE Silicone.
Yeah, this is, that is, GE Silicone is one department.
Right.
So GE Plastics is another department.
Right.
Yeah, so plastics, generally it is polycarbonates, which are my core expertise. And then there, SAPIC has taken over, so alpha lithium chemistry also came in there.
Right.
So I got a chance to work in that one as well for the catalyst development and then other product valorizations. Then after that, I got a chance to move to silicones. All are polymers, so to be very frank. So silicones are slightly different in terms of its behavior and its characteristics.
Right.
It's more like a inorganic polymer, not truly an organic polymer. But I worked my PhD and my master's in silica, which is another part of silicones. Okay, so that is modification of silica for the catalytic application.
So you've been attached to the silicon molecule for a very long time.
Yeah, true. So there it is as an inorganic silica and modifying the silica for particular applications.
Right.
And then this is polymeric silica, then it's called silicones. And then I been part of Momendy before Resil. And there I worked on personal care, home care, agriculture and healthcare also, and some other exposure to urethane additives as well. Then I joined Resil 2 years back because I have seen an immense opportunity in growing.
So this is not a paid advertisement.
So, true.
We didn't ask her to say that.
No, I didn't. So in a way, I can also grow along with the company. So I found it is a good, good land to grow. So that's why I prefer to join Resil.
Hey, fabulous. So, let's just deep dive into what we're here today. So our topic for today is silicon versus silicone. And I'll just give you a personal experience. Like, so I meet a lot of customers. And the first question is, do you have a silicon antifoam? And no, the molecule silicon can't be an antifoam. But everybody gets confused between silicon and silicone. A lot of times these terms are used interchangeably. So fundamental simple question. What is a silicon? What is a silicone? And why are they different?
Silicon is a metal, actually. So, means from that silicon is derived from. So, it's a element called silicon, which is in the periodic table. I think it's around.
Is it the same as sand?
No, that is silica.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that is different. So, silicon is the metal,
Okay.
which is as a pure element, it exists. And then when it converts, oxidized, it is from silica.
So can I find silicon metal on the road, for example?
Could be.
You can.
Oh, really? So there are mines for silicon metal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from that only it is converting to silica and silicones.
So what your starting point? Is it quartz?
Silica.
Okay.
It's a quartz.
It's quartz. Yeah. From that you have
Quartz, as in general, it's a pure form of silicon dioxide.
Okay.
So the starting point is quartz. So from quartz, you process and then you get silicon, the pure silicon. That's what we use in Ignots, the pure metal form.
Right.
In general, if you see, silicon is a simple element, SI, like how you see in the periodic table.
Right.
It's just an element over there. So from the SI silicon, there are a lot of before and pre and after. So starting point is from quartz, we get the silicon. Extract the silicon, yeah.
Right. And the silicon is, and how do you convert, very stupid question, but how do you convert silicon quartz to silicon metal? Is it what? Is it heat? Is it pressure? What is it?
Yeah, it involves, means I'm not very much familiar about that process. It involves all the metallurgical processes like heat and high pressure condition. And then you have to extract. It might be because of the melting point differences. And then we can extract the silicon metal from there. It's similar to all the metal.
So this is what you get. You get pure silicon.
Yes, silicon.
Atomic number 14, I think. No.
Yeah, you're right.
14, right?
14.
Okay, good. Not bad. No.
What is
Silicon is 14.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, silicon, carbon, silicon, German.
No.
Yeah.
14 is nitrogen.
Then what is silicon? Very embarrassing. We're supposed to be a chemical company. Sell silicones. But it shows that so that means, let us clarify, we don't work with silicon, we work with silicone. So now,
Yeah, 14, sir.
yes.
This is molecular.
Yeah.
So now segueing from silicon to silicone. So what is a silicone then?
Silicone is, means again, it's with E, it is called polymer.
Okay.
Okay, ending with E is a polymer. So starting from silica, you have to go through a process called Rorschach process. That is very common.
Is this the Muller-Rorschach process?
Yeah.
Okay. This is also called the direct process.
Yes, exactly.
So, I have very layman's knowledge. That's hydrochloric acid, methanol, high temperature. I don't know if there's high pressure, and metal. And then very complicated process. And then you come this. And Muller was the guy at Wacker and Rorschach was the guy at Dow.
Okay. No.
No,
Rorschach was the G.
was it G? Oh, okay. I thought he was at Dow.
No.
Oh, okay. So they came up.
This is G's own process.
Oh, so how old is this process?
Oh, I think it's very old. I don't know the exact,
So
maybe 19.
100 years?
Oh, might be.
Okay. Yes. Right. And so how did they make silicone before that? Oh, did they even make silicone before that?
Maybe extraction might be happening, but PDMS or the monomer may be processed through this process. This is the invention process they might have done.
Okay.
I think before that, because silicon has identified not very early. Silicon material has been developed quite recently.
Right.
And then it became a very speciality at particular point of time.
Okay.
And then it started becoming commodity because of its particular properties like flexibility and good thermal and chemical resistance properties. So it got that speciality for initially. And this process is not so easy. It's not easily viable for our industry. So it was quite expensive at that time.
Yes.
So then I think GE, Dow and all, they tried to develop the process and then it became Means now it is becoming more and more commodity. But at one point of era, it was highly specialty polymer.
Right. So simply put, silicon is the metallic form of the atom. Silicone is a polymer.
Yes.
Made from silicon. Using the Muller-Rorschach process. Are also monomers that come out of the Muller-Rorschach process also considered as silicone?
That is called silanes.
Okay.
Usually. Because anything reactive, it is called silane.
Actually, we should have called this episode silicon versus silicone versus silane. We completely missed out.
It is again confusing sometimes because
Why is that?
generally a silane is called a reactive group should be there.
Right.
But sometimes even unreacted, for example, tetramethyl silane. So it doesn't have any reactive groups like OR or OH groups are there. Even it is called silane. So generally what we claim it as, if it is having only one silicon, you can terminate as a silane. Yeah.
SI as such, in nutshell, SI as such is an element. When SH has a bonds with 4 bonds with the hydrogen or any of the groups, it's called silane. Only single SI.
But that
When you make it polymerized, it's become silicone. Yeah.
It's a great controversy. So sometimes we may call it a silane, sometimes we call it a silicon because according to that, then one silicon. But there are some other trisilanes or disilanes are also there. So that also we call it a silane.
Okay.
So that's what.
So is it accurate to say that if it's the Si is bonded with a methyl group, it's a silicone? Or that's also not? Because that's what because when I started learning, everybody talked about polydimethyl siloxane because the PDMS, which is your fundamental basic structure and all of that. And so in a layman's term, I was explained that, hey, if there's a methyl group attached to the Si, it's a silicone.
Again, as Dr. Manju said, that it's very difficult to split that because if you talk about one single silane, single Si, it again falls in the category of silanes. So if it is a chain of silanes, SiO, Si with carbon or with methyl groups with hydrogen, so it's a combination of Si, O, C and H. If you have these combinations in a polymerized form, then in general, in large, we can call it as silane.
So the general definition it says for PDMS or silicones is that a polymer chain containing a silicon, oxygen and methyl group as a repeating unit. So that is, so if it having only silicon and oxygen, that is called silica.
And it can repeat either linearly or cyclic.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
So that is called silicones.
Okay.
So if anything having that both, means all the three elements are there or all the three components are there. Oxygen, methyl and silicon. As a repeating unit, that is called silicones.
And if any of these are missing, it could be a silane.
Not necessarily.
Or is that controversial?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it is single silicon atom, silicon with bonds with some organic groups can be considered as silanes.
So Vijay, I just wanted to reach out and ask you, because you talk more to the customers than any of us do, and you talk the technical side of stuff. What do customers perceive as silicone versus silicone?
So this myth, like this confusion is always there between silicone and silicone. There's terminology differences. People is not giving the, like in general, if a customer comes and asks what is his domain, if some personal care customer comes and asks, definitely is not interested in silicone. Okay, the terminology he used, sometimes he used silicone or sometimes he used silicone. So we understood like what he is exactly looking for. So we categorize it in the silicones and we just generally talk about silicones only. So this terminology challenge is always there amongst the customer, some customers, and we handle it with the way what is their expectation, whether it domain falls under silane. For example, in many coatings industries, if we talk about, then we understood sometimes silane is their interest. Okay. So when it comes to the personal care, definitely not many silanes are there in the personal care industry. And sometimes when we go based on the in case when we speak, we understood what is the requirement and what is the functionality requirement. Accordingly, we go on with the flow.
Fantastic. Okay. So now, as we know, silicon, I mean, as every layman probably knows, it's a semiconductor.
Yeah.
It's magical, great element used in chips, whatnot. What makes silicone magical? Like that SiO bond or that the methyl silicon bond. What makes silicone magic? Is it the mobility of that SiO bond? Is it, I don't know, it's some new magic happens when you do that? I don't know. Or how do you explain the magic of silicones?
Yeah, so that it's definitely a speciality as well as a magical molecule, to be very frank, as a chemist, if I want to say. So silicones, one advantage is that if you increase means from particular form without introducing any particular functionality to that one, you can achieve some particular property in the same molecular structure. For example, if you take PDMS, in the cyclic form, it have a very different property, like it is highly volatile, and then it is a good carrier, solvent-like properties it is having. But if you go to in small linears, almost similar to cyclics, but it have some other slightly different properties than cyclics, because it leaves some kind of sensory to your, means wherever you are applying, it will leave there for some time. But when you increase to some more molecular weights, then it will have other properties like lubricant properties, and it have some other critical properties like spreading, then film forming, that kind of properties you keep in. If you increase further high, it will become a gum. So it again give a different type of properties. So that is what differing from your carbon analogs, because there are also same function. I mean, so structural differences are there, but properties remains more or less same. But silicon, if you consider that one, each type, each segment, if you take, it have different unique properties it can impart. Similar way, if you do some functionalization, you can get extremely different properties. Like if you functionalize with an hydrophilic molecules, you can make it as a...
Yeah, because silicone is naturally hydrophobic, right?
Yes, highly hydrophobic.
Yeah, then you're making a hydrophilic, and that itself sounds magical.
Yes.
How does that happen?
So this because this is the beauty of hydrosilylation chemistry. If you have reactive silicones,
Okay, so for the listeners out there who are uninformed, what is hydrosilylation?
Hydrosilylation it's a kind of addition.
So hydrosilylation or silylation?
Hydrosilylation.
Oh, it's not hydrosilylation. Sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you are talking to a hardcore silicone chemist, they will get offended by that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. I've been offending you for years. Okay, so hydrosilylation.
Hydrosilylation.
Yeah, silylation. Okay, not silly. Yes. Okay.
So that is like, means in silicon chemistry, not many reactions are involved. If you consider particularly 3 reactions, one is condensation chemistry, condensation polymerization, you can say. Second one is hydrosilylation, and third one is equilibration. So if you want to increase the molecular chain, then that is the equilibration reaction coming function. And if you want to bring in some other functionality, then these 2 reactions like condensation or hydrosilylation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an OH or OR kind of a functionality, then condensation is the right right process. But if you have a hydride functionality, there is a highly reactive functionality in silicon, that is SiH group. It's highly reactive, so that you can utilize that bond for further functionalization. So that is we always consider hydrosilylation and equilibration is the bread and butter of silicon chemistry.
Through these reactions, you're able to modify
the function, means properties and functionalities.
Okay. So you take out something and you replace it with
Yes,
something.
exactly. And another thing is that means silicon itself, means that silicon polymer itself have some inherent properties, as you mentioned, the flexibility of the chain and the stacking of nature. Because of the flexibility, polymers have a tendency to stack together, but the silicones doesn't have that one.
So how is that? But silicone is a polymer, right?
It's a polymer, but because of the flexibility and the bond angle arrangement, it cannot stack together. So it will hold a lot of, it will allow the air to pass through it because of some voids present between these layers. And then
So silicone is a breathable polymer?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it is more used in healthcare industry, personal care industry, because of these properties.
So this breathability will be opening up a wide variety of...
That's why it is mainly used in contact lens application because of that breathability. If you consider the contact lens application, previously it was a hard rigid polymer people used to use.
Right.
It was giving so much problem, like when you means a long wear and all.
Yeah.
Means possible. But when this silicones come into that one, it became more flexible, more breathable, and people can wear throughout the day without any irritation or discomfort. So there are many opportunities because of the silicones.
Fantastic.
That.
So taking on from applications of silicones, and that's why I turn to you, Vijay.
Yep.
I mean, there are probably millions of applications of silicone. So when you go to a customer and, I don't know, they come up with a problem and they say, hey, we want a silicone to solve this XYZ problem. How do you narrow down?
So it's entirely depend upon the functionality, because as you rightly mentioned, silicones has wide variety of functionality, starting from it's a good spreading agents, it's a good weathering agents, it has thermal insulation property, electrical insulation property. There are very versatile applications. So looking at the industry, looking at the requirement, what exactly the customer looking for example, let's say in personal care. In personal care, there are a wide variety of silicone materials available, but each will have a different functionality in deliverables. So when a customer is looking for just a spreading layer or coating agents, so we can go with the silicones, which is very linear and then volatile. So if they just wanted to use it as a carrier to transfer the actives and then form a film forming, we can go with the volatile cyclics or anything. But when they have to have a conditioning property, that's when we look at the functional silicones, where the functionality is like, for example, silicones, silicone emulsions, and there are like modified silicones. So based on the end deliverable, whether they want conditioning, whether they want the spreading, whether they want gloss. If they want gloss, we want to look at the functionality where we have the high refractive index, like PDM. Likewise. So looking at the end benefits, what they are looking for, accordingly, we will choose the right silicones for them and optimize the formulations for them. So it depends on the user's benefit needs and then what the targeted performance criteria they're looking for.
Okay. And I mean, it's a controversial question, but when should you not use silicones?
So
for example, I was told, and I would like for you to, if it's a myth, I would love for you to debunk it. That silicone is a great lubricant between two different surfaces, say for example, metal and rubber.
Yeah.
But it's a terrible lubricant between two surfaces of the same type. So for example, metal on metal.
Okay.
Now, am I right or am I wrong?
I have maybe I have to check on that.
No, there is another area when it could be coming from the paintability of your metallic parts, because it's highly lubricant and it's adhering, means its interaction with any metallic surfaces or any surfaces are very good. Because of that, cleaning of the surface is also little difficult. So that is an advantage in some areas, but it's a disadvantage in others.
So there are some areas where you can't.
Yes.
So for example, in an engine where we use, say, lubricants, why can't we use a silicone there, theoretically?
But some areas we can use, but it depends on what is your requirement. Means, for example, if you look into the diesel antifoams, so there silicon-based materials are using.
Right.
So you are adding into the diesel and then it's going into your engine. But it is not giving any lubricant requirement over there. It is acting as an antifoam. So similar kind, and there are many other like opportunities are coming. So another thing I'll explain to you on the paintability, like this precision engineered equipments. So there also they prefer not to have silicones. Why? Because of extra lubricancy will be there. So you may not be able to assemble or do the proper manufacturing of your equipments finally. So there could be a chance of getting some errors in that. So there are some particular areas, because of its good properties, we may not be able to use that. And another thing is that, recently I had had a chance to talk to another company, a silicon company expert. So
Silicon or silicone?
Silicone.
Yes. I was wanting to clarify.
Yeah. So we had a chat about how silicon state will be, but what we realize is that we both have the same opinion about that one. That in some of the areas it is getting regulated, what Vijay has mentioned, to that D4, D5 and particularly personal care. But in some areas it is finding new applications. Like if you look into earlier years, silicon was nowhere in healthcare.
Yeah.
Now it is completely very much used in healthcare. And if you move to other application like battery, it's coming as a moving requirement in silicones. And so similar way, new applications this material is finding because of its particular. It's like one area it is going down, but other it's exponentially it is increasing its application.
So on that happy note, some parting thoughts on anybody who would want to research about silicon and silicone. Are there any resources that you recommend? Any websites? I mean, you can use the Resil website. It's a pretty useful information resource. But anything else that you guys have found useful?
So we have a lot of open sources, and there are many domain knowledge expertise available in the industries. For example, I don't shy away to say that Dow is someone who has a lot of research on the silicones, and they have a lot of things. So they have a lot of white papers available from them, because we can learn from anybody. So there are companies like Dow who has already have the white papers ready for the layman's to ace of application. But when we talk about the scientists who want to exactly go deep into the research, there are a lot of publications available from the research articles like PubMed, a lot of research articles available, which will be giving you more precise about the reactions and all these details. From application point of view, we have a lot of references from the open source which we take in.
Fantastic. Manju, anything else?
So this, what I mentioned, the new applications means already what Vijay has mentioned. Now we have a library of all the applications, all the means historic application, all the chemistry behind what is the molecule and what are the monomers, what is the reaction. Everything is covered in that one. Apart from that, if any means there are few research groups are working on developing new application area, new modifications. I forgot.
There is the Silicone Council in Europe. I think they publish a lot on the safety side.
Yes. Yeah, and they justify the regulatory aspect of all silicones. And so how
It's a good place to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, there's also a book that I read by Roshoff. He wrote It's called Technology of Silicone. It's out of print. It's very difficult to find. I managed to grab one copy. But yeah, I think that's a good place to start. I don't remember the name of the book, but when I do, I can definitely put it in the podcast notes. Good. So we're running short of time. So on that happy note, thank you so much for both of you to join us despite your very, very busy schedules. I know we're running towards our nice meetings. And thank you for this very illuminating discussion. I mean, I learned a lot. And look forward to talking to you guys very soon. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on our first Resipod episode. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit follow or subscribe on your go-to streaming platform to stay updated with our latest chats. We're all about sparking your curiosity, inspiring innovation, and breaking down the next big thing. If you have any ideas or suggestions for topics you'd like us to explore on Resipod, don't hesitate to ping us. We'd be thrilled to discuss them. Until next time, keep synthesizing those big ideas. Don't forget, you can also catch us at resil.com or resilsilicones.com.